This is a week 8 live seminar with my City University doctoral students. I've got a handful of awesome DBA students with me, and it looks like I've got one of my doctoral leadership students with me today. So those of you who are joining us via recording, I want to thank you for your valuable time. This is one of the most important topics that I talk with organizational leaders about when I'm doing organizational development training. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most requested leadership development modules that I have to offer. And so I know that I talk a lot in our discussions about how important emotional intelligence is. And in my leadership class, we actually talked about being able to assess your emotional intelligence, and then from there it gives you an area to be able to grow and develop yourself. A little bit of background. This is one of the newer of the social sciences that has emerged over the last few years. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Harvard University's Dr. Daniel Goleman actually is one of the biggest names in the research and expert in emotional intelligence. And since then, there have been many more scholars who have jumped on this bandwagon because they recognize it as one of the primary areas that organizations can benefit from, especially now that we're in a global marketplace. And that's why I've invited my leadership doctoral students who are studying global business to be able to understand how important this particular element is. Dr. Daniel Goleman, in his book, Primal Leadership, talks about how about only 5% of our personal success actually comes from IQ or traditional intelligence. It's actually about 85 or more percent of our success comes from our emotional intelligence. And the good news is that emotional intelligence can be grown. And the higher up in an organization you are, the more emotional intelligence you need. And so that's one of the most important things to remember is that we can each grow our own emotional intelligence, and we must be cognizant of the fact that being highly emotional intelligent will affect our success and the success of others, because we all have the power to influence others. If you've been following a lot of my comments and discussions and the publications that I put out there, my main comment that I've found in working with organizations is managers have no idea how their decisions may be negatively impacting the organizations. And it's the soft skills, especially their level of emotional intelligence, that could be affecting the longevity of employees in their organizations. So therefore, once they understand and get a check on their emotional intelligence, it gives them a baseline to grow their organizational leadership skills through developing a specific plan of action to increase their emotional intelligence. So, with that said, I've sent out one of the quick, easy assessment that I use when I train leaders in industry on emotional intelligence. And so you can certainly use this tool. I sent it to you as a Microsoft Word document, and I encourage you, hopefully you've printed that out. If you haven't printed it out, awesome, good job. If you've printed it out, share with us your answers along the way. So I'd love for each of you to be able to read a question or two and share with us the answer that you chose. And so with this, I will read the score of what letter receives how many points, and there's a possible 100 points. So 10 questions, 10 points possible each. So hi, Joey, welcome. If you'd be so
Thank
kind,
you.
glad you're here. If you'd be so kind, put your microphone on mute when you're not talking, and when you have something to contribute, just go ahead and unring out and share your insights. So,
I will.
and thank
Thanks.
you. I'm glad you're here. So I'd love a volunteer to read question number one and share with us what you have answered for question number one. So who's going to join in? Tanya, good job. Thank you. Go ahead and turn your microphone on, and share with us.
Okay, question number one. You are on an airplane that suddenly hits extremely bad turbulence and begins rocking from side to side. What do you do? Question mark. A, continue to read your book or magazine or watch the movie, trying to pay little attention to the turbulence. B, become vigilant for an emergency, carefully monitoring the stewardess and reading the emergency instructions card. C, both A and B. Or D, not sure, never noticed. I selected C.
Awesome job, Tanya. Thank you. And you get cool points for joining us from your car and showing off how beautiful it is outside, by the way.
Yes, it is. Right now it is. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. So this one is actually, there's only one wrong answer for this one. So if you chose A as in apple, give yourselves 10 points. If you chose B as in boy, give yourself 10 points. If you chose C as in cat, give yourself 10 points. And if you chose D as in dog, give yourself 0 points. So be cognizant of the fact that with this one, all but answer D is the right answer. So this was the easiest one. Thank you. So here's what Dr. Daniel Goleman says about this. Anything but D, that answer reflects a lack of awareness of your habitual responses under stress. Actively acknowledging your stress and finding ways to calm yourself, like engaging in a book or reading an emergency card, are healthier responses. So, Joey, would you be so kind and put your microphone on mute, please, sir?
I'm actually trying to look for it.
Awesome. Look at the, I think at the top right-hand corner, there might be a button. Is there can anyone chime in and help him find I don't know where the mute button is.
It looks like a microphone with a cross through it.
Yeah, if you run mouse over the front, right over the beginning, it pops up the option to hang up, put the mic on mute, or put the video on mute. Oh. Just move the mouse around, it'll pop up.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yeah, move your microphone around. It's a little loud. I apologize for asking you specifically. I know. There you go. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. So, who can read question number 2, please? Anyone? Just go ahead and jump in.
I got it.
Thank you.
You're in a meeting when a colleague takes credit for work that you have done. What do? Do you immediately and publicly confront the colleague over the ownership of your work? Or B, after the meeting, take the colleague aside and tell her what you would appreciate in the future that she credits you in speaking about your work? C, nothing. It is not a good idea to embarrass colleagues in public. Or D, after the colleague speaks, publicly thank her for referencing your work and give the group more specific detail about what you're trying to accomplish.
Awesome. What did you put, sir?
What I put, I know isn't probably the best answer, but I put D because that's what I personally would do.
Wow. Well, you need to give yourself some credit because that, sir, is the most emotionally intelligent answer, believe it or not. And we'll talk about why. So if you've chosen D, make sure you give yourself 10 points. If you chose A as in apple, that is 0 points. B as in boy is worth 5 points. And C as in cat is 0 points. So listen to this closely, because for a lot of my workshop participants, this is actually kind of a paradigm shift because they've been brought up to believe something else. But this is what we know from studying emotional intelligence for the last 30 years. The most emotionally intelligent answer is D as in dog. By demonstrating an awareness of a workplace dynamics and an ability to control your emotional responses, publicly recognizing your own accomplishments in a non-threatening manner will disarm your colleague, as well as puts you in a better light with your manager and your peers. Public confrontations can be ineffective and are likely to cause your colleague to become defensive and may look like poor sportsmanship on your part. Although less threatening, private confrontations are also less effective in that they will not help your personal reputation. So this is really important to understand, is that we are our own brand managers, and very often we're kind of trained to, pull people aside and tell them in private, hey, I don't appreciate you doing that. But you need to recognize that you want to have a long-term relationship, even with this colleague, in a positive manner. And so giving this person a little bit of grace by saying something like, hey, Bill, I appreciate you bringing up what we had talked about before, my idea on doing this and this and this. I know that you probably forgot to give me credit, and that's okay, but let me talk a little bit more about what we discussed. You're kind of helping your colleague save grace, but at the same time, you're managing him and you're managing your own emotions by being able to be assertive in communicating what you are thinking and get credit at the same time. So a lot of times we have to consider our past conditioning and recognize that being more emotionally intelligent, managing our own brand and our own motivation, as well as being socially respectful and responsible at the same time are all very important. Do I have a volunteer to read number 3?
Before we go on, this is Deb.
Yeah.
I disagree with that one.
Of course.
I put C, and I think that D is confrontational.
Yeah.
I think it makes everybody in the room feel uncomfortable if you see what's happening.
Sure.
And to me, I would never in a million years do that.
Yeah, well, I agree. And this is one of the questions that you probably will disagree with because of past conditionings. And I just ask you to consider that that this actually comes right out of Harvard University as part of their training, because of the fact that people have such strong paradigms on what they believe to be the case. But it's how you say things that matters. You're not saying, Bob, you jerk, you rip me off, how dare you, you jerk. You're saying, oh, I'd like to add to that. Thank you for bringing up what we had talked about, Bob, and you shared my idea of doing this, and that's really important. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So,
Dr. Gerhardt.
Yep.
I kind of agree with Deb. I wanted to ask, what factor does organizational culture play into that? Because I know in Boeing, we kind of have an unspoken norm that
Yep.
you praise in public and counsel in
Yep.
private.
Yeah, and that's traditional. That really is. And when you have low organizational trust, that's really hard to do. And so you can't make a big deal about it, but you do need to you have to manage trust. And you could choose not to do this. And I'm simply sharing with you what we have found in decades. And when I say we, I don't mean me. I mean me sharing what I've discovered in the emotional literature. And this assessment is produced by Harvard University to help people train. So try it out. Just try it on for size. I double dog dare you to. But remember, it's how you say things that really matters. You're not doing it with spite. You're doing it in a way that helps set a norm. Well, there'll be another question or two in here that I suspect you won't agree with too. I'm just asking that you try it on. That's all I'm saying. And no.
Dr. G?
Yeah.
This is Tanya Parker.
Hi, Ms. Parker.
I put the word sarcasm and class next to D, because I can see that response being taken both ways. But I also put a mark next to B as in boy, And I'm a little surprised that the private conversations are basically taken as being sneaky, is kind of what I'm hearing. Because in the Boeing culture, yes, as someone had mentioned about the private conversations with the union, but also we have group conversations. So I find myself in both types of dynamics of conversations in private and in group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I find it more effective to do D versus B.
Yeah.
But that's a learning experience.
Yep, agreed. Thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Yeah, all I can say is try it on and consider the source. Harvard has a long tradition of hiring some of the smartest minds to do research and publish it. And this is one that I've come to learn to have a paradigm shift myself, because my programming was very much like what I'm hearing is the culture in many organizations, including Boeing, that you would do it privately. But this is really about creating and affecting culture to help people be honest. And you want to promote positive character traits in every organization. And you're not doing it in a sarcastic way, because sarcasm is poison in relationships, but you're doing it in an assertive, respectful way. So just ask you guys to try it on. It's not my test. I don't have to defend it. I'm just telling you to consider the source, that it's from a very, very highly research source. And this is a part of training that is built by Harvard University for organizational leaders of top organizations. Can we get someone to read?
Dr. G?
Yes, ma'am.
This is Tanya Parker again.
Hi, Ms.
I
Parker.
would say it goes beyond being honest, but it's being
Yeah.
more so open.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times what you say in private can be totally changed or switched around when you say it out in public.
Yep, agreed.
So I like to have the public conversations. That way someone can't twist the words or my intentions behind what I say, and I can address it right there at the moment.
Yeah, thank you.
Versus trying to backtrack.
Yeah, I appreciate your wisdom. You've got other people there that can say, no, he was just making sure that he got credit where it was due. And it certainly will change the culture of that team when people try to take credit for other people's work. It won't happen again. So part of creating a positive organizational culture really is about being assertive. And there's no more he said, she said. It's, nope, I saw what Tanya did. She was respectful about it, but she was assertive, and she was just being honest. And who can blame her for wanting to get credit for her work? She tried very hard to make sure that she supported the team that way with her information and research. So yeah, really good point. Can we get a reader for number 3 before we run out of time? Anyone? You guys can...
I'll read it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Welcome.
Sorry, I couldn't get on too. I had a connection problem.
Oh, so I'm glad you're here.
Number 3, you are a customer service representative and have just gotten an extremely angry client on the phone. What do you do? Am I reading the potential answer?
Yeah, if you would, please, sir.
Okay. So A, hang up. It doesn't pay to take abuse from anyone. B, listen to the client and rephrase what you gather he is feeling. C, explain to the client that he is being unfair, that you are only trying to do your job, and you would appreciate it if he wouldn't get in the way of this. D, tell the client you understand how frustrating this must be for him and offer a specific thing you can do to help get this problem resolved.
Awesome. Nice job, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. Yeah. If you chose D as in dog, give yourself 10 points. So write 10 points in the margin. A is worth 0 points. B is actually worth 5 points. So B as in boy is 5 points. And C as in cat is 0 points. Here's what Dr. Daniel Goleman says. The most emotionally intelligent answer is D as in dog. Empathizing with the customer will help calm him down, and focusing back on a solution will ultimately help the customer attain his needs. Confronting a customer or becoming defensive tends to anger the customer. even more. So we all have the ability to influence other people, and empathizing is one of the most important things that we can do in being emotional intelligent. So here's an opportunity to deal with things. Whenever there's a problem or a challenge, there's an opportunity to practice being emotionally intelligent. So, question number 4. Can anyone read that for us? Anyone want to jump in? No one, huh?
I'll do it again.
Thank-
You're a college student who had hoped to get an A in a course that was important for your future career aspirations. Just found out you got a C- on the midterm. What do? You sketch out a specific plan for ways to improve your grade and resolve to follow through. Decide you do not have what it takes to make it in that career. It doesn't matter how much you do in the course. Concentrate instead on other classes where your grades are higher. Or do you go see your professor and try to talk her into giving you a better grade?
What'd you put, sir?
I'm going to be honest. I didn't put any because I don't think I would have done any of those.
Okay.
What I would do is I would review my mistakes. Is what I would.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, closer to choice A. But but again, that's none of the 4 is really what I would do. I'd really just, I know what I did wrong.
Yeah. Good.
You don't just get a C- for getting a C-. You obviously did things wrong. I'd look at them if I really want to be in that career field. I'd go through what I did incorrectly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's more of A, but I really don't agree with what it says to make a specific plan. I wouldn't really.
Yeah, well, you're kind of saying that. Brad, good job, by the way. Give yourself 10 points if you chose A as an apple. If you chose B as in boy, give yourself 0 points. C as in cat is worth 5 points. And D as in dog is worth 0 points. So A as in apple is 10, B as in boy is 0, C as in cat is 5, and D as in dog is 0. Dr. Daniel Goleman says that most emotional intelligent answer is A. A key indicator of self-motivation, also known as achievement motivation, is your ability to form a plan for overcoming obstacles to achieve long-term goals. While focusing efforts on classes where you have a better opportunity may sometimes be productive, if the goal was to learn the content of the course to help your long-term career objectives, you're unlikely to achieve. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. Can we get a volunteer to read number 5? Anyone?
Tanya Parker here.
Thank you, Ms.
Number
Parker.
5. Yes, sir. You are a manager in an organization that is trying to encourage respect for racial and ethnic diversity. You overhear someone telling a racist joke. What do you do? Question. A, ignore it. The best way to deal with these things is not to react. B, call the person into your office and explain that their behavior is inappropriate and is grounds for disciplinary action if repeated. C, speak up on the spot, saying that such jokes are inappropriate, will not be tolerated in your organization. D, suggest to the person telling the joke he go through a diversity training program.
What'd you put?
Well, my number 1 answer was C, but then when I read B again, I'm like, okay. But I'll go with C. I'll stick with C, even though B, but yeah.
Yeah, good job. Thank you for sharing, by the way, and reading. As Ms. Parker shared with us, the most emotionally intelligent answer is actually C as in cat. If you chose A as in apple, you get 0 points. If you chose B as in boy, you get 5 points. C as in cat, of course, is 10 points. And D as in dog is worth 5 points. Here's what Dr. Daniel Goleman says. The most emotionally intelligent answer is C as in cat. The most effective way is to create an atmosphere that welcomes diversity, is to make clear in public that the social norms of your organization do not tolerate such expressions. Confronting the behavior privately lets the individual know the behavior is unacceptable, but does not communicate it to the team. Instead of trying to change prejudices, which is a much harder task, keep people from acting on them. So again, C is worth 10 points. Can someone read number 6? I'll scroll that up so you can see number 6. Anyone?
I'll read it again.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
6. You are an insurance salesman calling on prospective client. You have left the last 15 clients empty-handed. What do you do? A, call it a day, go home early to miss the rush hour traffic. B, try something new in the next call and keep plugging away. C, list your strengths and weaknesses to identify what may be undermining your ability to sell. Or D, sharpen up your resume.
What do you think, sir? What did you put?
Yeah, I ended up putting C. C and B are both, to me, are both really good. Just try something new, which kind of ties into C. You got to put your strengths and weaknesses and come up with something you might be missing. So that's why I kind of settled with C.
Good. Yeah, thank you. That's actually worth 5 points. If you chose B as in boy, give yourself 10 points. If you chose A as in apple, 0 points. B as in boy, 10 points. C as in cat, 5 points. And D as in dog is 0 points, of course. Dr. Daniel Goleman reminds us that B as in boy is the most emotional intelligent answer. Optimism and taking the initiative both are indicators of emotional intelligence. Lead people to see setbacks as challenges they can learn from and to persist, trying out new approaches rather than giving up, blaming themselves or getting demoralized. Although listing your strengths and weaknesses can be a helpful exercise, without actively plugging away, motivation to sell will tend to decrease. So, we are the only ones that can reprogram ourselves. When we recognize that we're not having success, we need to do things differently. And so you have to get the motivation to go, I'm going to keep doing this till I get it right. So let me roll up my sleeves and take another look at how I can do this even better until I find some successes. And so there's a lot of people in the sales industry who make a lot of money, and they find that the more they practice doing things right and then continue to stay motivated, because they do get a lot of no's, it keeps them feeling like they've got challenges that can help them be the best they can be professionally. So B as in boy is worth 10 points. We are at number 7, and I'd love a volunteer to jump in. Joey, you going to join? Thank you.
You are trying to calm down a colleague who has worked herself into a fury because the driver of another car has cut dangerously close in front of her. What do you do? A, tell her to forget about it. She's okay now and it's no big deal. Or B, put on one of her favorite tapes and try to distract her. C, join her in criticizing the other driver. Or D, tell her about a time something like this happened to you and how angry you felt until you saw that the other driver was on the way to the hospital. And I chose D.
Oh, good job, sir. Thank you. Yeah, if you chose D like Joey, give yourselves 10 points. If you chose A as in apple, that's only worth 0 points. B as in boy, believe it or not, is 0 points. And C as in cat is worth 5 points. Here's what they say. The most emotionally intelligent answer is D as in dog. All research shows that anger and rage seriously affect one's ability to perform effectively. Dr. Daniel Goleman coined the phrase amygdala hijack to describe the process of losing one's temper in this type of situation. Your ability to avoid or control this emotional reaction in yourself and others is a key indicator of emotional intelligence. In the road rage scenario, any attempt to calm down your colleague by distracting him away from the effects of the amygdala hijack will have a positive impact on the situation and his behavior, particularly if you're able to effectively empathize with him. All right, my favorite one is number 8, and so I'm putting my boxing gloves on so we can have a doctoral level conversation about it. Can someone be so kind and read question number 8?
And I can do it.
Thank you, sir.
A discussion between you and your partner has escalated into a shouting match. You're both upset, and in the heat of the argument, start making personal attacks, which neither of you really mean. What is the best thing to do? Agree to take a 20-minute break before continuing the discussion? Go silent regardless of what your partner says? Say you are sorry and ask your partner to apologize too? Or do you stop for a moment, collect your thoughts, then restate your side of the case as precisely as possible?
What'd you put, sir?
I put A.
Wow, you're rocking this test as far as I can tell. Good job. If you chose A as an apple, you get 10 points. B as in boy gets 0 points. C as in cat gets 0 points, and D as in dog gets 0 points. Again, I want to remind you, people way smarter than me created this test, and if you listen to the rationale, it'll make a little bit of sense to you, hopefully. So, the most emotionally intelligent answer is A as in apple. In these circumstances, the most appropriate behavior is to take a 20-minute break. As the argument has intensified, so have the physiological responses in your nervous system, to the point at which it will take at least 20 minutes to clear your body of these emotions of anger and arousal. Any other course of action is likely merely to aggravate an already tense and uncontrolled situation. So, that amygdala in your brain, for those of you who have studied the brain, this is what scientists think is the original part of the brain that back in the days of the cavemen was very useful in helping people make the best decisions to determine whether or not they were going to get eaten or not. Do I eat this, or does it eat me? And then the fight or flight response kicks in. And still to this very day, I'm sure most of us or all of us have been in conflict situations where you actually feel the feeling of anger. And you have a tendency to go, I'm just going to get one more word in because I know I'm right, to some effect. But really recognizing that most people really may have a valid point that they're very, very sure on. And just because you feel that you're very sure about something, it doesn't mean that the other person might not be right too. So taking a step aside and allowing, you're not thinking clearly. And so you have to take a step aside and say something like this. Bob, I can see you're angry about this, and I'm feeling angry too. I really want to hear and understand your perspective because I know you're a smart guy and you have lots of experience in this area. I need to remove myself from the situation, and I promise you, if we could come back in 20 minutes or more and talk about this, I'll listen to you. I'll show you that I've really understood what you had to say, and I'm not even going to talk until I can prove to you that I understand your perspective. And then I'm hoping that if I've shown you that I understand you, that you'll at least listen and consider my perspective too, because I suspect we may be both right about this. So can we come back and talk in 20 minutes about this? Because I really want to understand your perspective. So having a sense of maturity, being assertive and respectful at the same time will go a long way. But you have to remember, when you're angry, and relationships are fragile, you are partially insane and you are not going to be making the best decision possible as if you would when you're calm, cool, and collected. So facilitate maturity and create a break situation that will, for at least 20 minutes, that come back and then help facilitate a mature conversation that will help illuminate the facts. All right. Question number 9, smart people. Who's going to read that?
You have been given the task of managing a team that has been unable to come up with a creative solution to work a problem. What is the first thing that you do? Draw up an agenda, call a meeting and allow a specific period of time to discuss each item, or B, organize an off-site meeting aimed specifically at encouraging the team to get to know each other better, or C, begin by asking each person individually for ideas about how to solve the problem, or D, start out with a brainstorming session encouraging each person to say whatever comes to mind, no matter how wild it'll be. I actually chose D.
D as in dog. Well, you get 5 points, sir. I appreciate you reading those, by the way. If you chose A as in apple, that is worth 0 points. B as in boy is the big winner here for 10 points. C as in cat is 0 points. And D as in dog, as I mentioned, is 5 points. Here's what Dr. Daniel Goleman says. The most emotionally intelligent answer is B as in boy. As a leader of a group of individuals charged with developing a creative solution, your success will depend on the climate that you can create in your project team. Creativity is likely to be stifled by structure and formality. Instead, creative groups perform at their peaks when rapport, harmony, and comfort levels are most high. In these circumstances, people are most likely to make the most positive contributions to the success of a project. This is one reason why I highly suggest that if there's innovation that needs to be done, and I know that in both programs we talk a lot about the need to innovate, it really is worth it to set time aside and have a leadership retreat where people can put down their titles and come in and just collaborate in a different situation. And if you think about how the brain works, and I know we've all done this, is like sometimes I'll be sitting in my living room and I'll be watching television and then a commercial will come on, or I'll have to go, oh, that reminds me, when a commercial comes on, I'll have to go to another room and do this thing and then come back. And then the commercial comes on, I stand up, I walk into another room, and I go, what the hell did I come in here for? And then I take a step back. I have to go back into the other room to think about it. And I know we can all associate that. But our brain has a tendency of associating, places with different functions. And so this is why it's wise to have a specific place for getting work done. Like in our program, if you use your computer to play video games or for entertainment, you probably should get a different computer and put it in a different room so that your brain can compartmentalize the fact that this computer and this other room is for getting doctoral level work done. So hopefully that makes sense.
Dr. G, this is Deb again.
Hi, Ms. Miller.
Hi there. So I just want to throw up a little bit of a defense for D.
Okay.
To me, both off-site and brainstorming sessions would be great. They're both, good. But it says, what is like the first thing you would do? Well, I can tell you, this is where it seems like the professor, whoever wrote this quiz or whatever, is a little bit out of touch from practical, because from a budget standpoint, you're probably not going to organize an off-site meeting, which in my definition is expensive.
Sure.
And it takes time to plan, and that's not going to be the first thing you're going to do. That's like level 2 or something, and it's definitely a great option, but It's not practical. So the first one would be you call a meeting, you get everybody in the room, and you create the right environment, and you help everybody engage, which is what D is. So this one just shows me like whoever wrote it doesn't feel like they're very practical.
Yeah, no, I get that. In an ideal situation with unlimited budget, and I get that, you really would get more productivity if you could just have an off-site meeting where people could put their positions aside and be able to work as human to human. But yeah, I agree. Number D is more realistic for most situations, and that's why you get 5 points and not 0 points. So
Just to add on that, Doctor, at least when I was just doing some of this recently, I actually just threw in some food as a method of creating a different environment and just pulled them outside, and it actually worked because the sun was nice and it was a beautiful day and brainstorming was effective.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, exactly. You don't have to rent another space. And food, I love your wisdom there. Food actually does bring in a whole different dimension, and stepping outside, if the weather makes it worthwhile, does change your frame of mind and your perspective on things. Awesome job. Yeah, you don't have to rent a retreat center for sure. Changing the location and creating a different type of experience is really all you need. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. Well done. We got one more question to go, ladies and gentlemen. Then you can add up your scores. We're not competing against each other. We're just here to be able to talk about emotional intelligence and be able to have some sort of baseline. Of course, there's only 10 questions here, which really isn't scientifically reliable or valid. But the basis for the questions should give you some sort of frame of reference for you to just be considering, do I need a paradigm shift, or could I benefit from a paradigm shift and do things even better than what I've been doing? So obviously it's not 100% type of deal with 10 questions. Oh my gosh, I've got low emotional intelligence, or I got super high. It just gives you a baseline for you to consider applying each of these. There's for five area components of emotional intelligence, there's 2 questions each related to those, and we'll talk about those. Got one question left. Who's going to be so kind and finish us off?
All right, I'll do it.
Thank you, sir.
You have recently been assigned a young manager in your team. You have noticed that he appears to be unable to make the simplest of decisions without seeking advice from you. What do? Do you accept that he does not have what it takes to succeed around here and find others in your team to take on his tasks? Do you get an HR manager to talk to him about where he sees his future in the organization? Do you purposely give him lots of complex decisions to make so that he'll become more confident in that role? Or do you engineer an ongoing series of challenging but manageable experiences for him and make yourself available to act as his mentor?
Awesome. What'd you put?
I put D.
Wow, you are impressive, sir. Good job. Yeah, that's the right answer. That's 10 points for D as in dog.
Well, you don't want to give him a C. C is like he already can't do, so you're not going to make him even feel less capable by giving him complex decisions to make.
Good job. Yeah, C as in cat, by the way, is 0 points. So nice job. I love your wisdom. Bravo. A as in apple also is 0 points. And B as in boy is worth 5 points. Here's what Dr. Daniel Goleman says. The most emotionally intelligent answer is D as in dog. Managing others requires high levels of emotional intelligence, particularly if you're going to be successful in maximizing the performance of your team. Often this means that you need to tailor your approach to meet the specific needs of the individual and provide them with support and feedback to help them grow in confidence and capability. And that's a theme that hopefully you're seeing in each of our discussion questions is leaders have a lot of control over an employee's self-efficacy. And one of the most important things that a highly effective leader does is they look for opportunities to take positive actions that influence people to be even better. So it's not what you say, it's how you say things in each of these cases. I want to share with you, I know we only have a few minutes left, but emotional intelligence is one of those scientific bodies of knowledge that we're starting to incorporate in grade school. We recognize that it's one of the most important success factors in any person's careers because essentially we need other people and we push people away by our way of being. And we bring people in, we have the ability to influence people more effectively when we can earn their trust by creating safe interactions every single time. Because trust is the glue of all relationships, as I know each of you have seen me say before, and relationships are absolutely fragile. Using emotional intelligence as a basis for for interacting with other people will allow you to create positive win-win situations. So this is what they teach kids in grade school these days, and I think it is so practical for us as adults, because too often we end up going on our old programming that we think works. And what we don't realize is that we may be putting up walls and limiting future interactions by our past interactions because we become a little less approachable. And so if we think about a stoplight, red light, yellow light, green light, red light, something happens. I can feel my emotions. And by the way, the word emotions has the Greek root of mot, which means to move. We need to recognize that it's our emotions that cause us to take action in one way or another. So we have to stop and recognize the emotion that's developing. Yellow light. It's time to make a decision. Who all is involved? What could be a win-win solution for everybody here, or the majority of the stakeholders here? How can I influence a positive outcome? What would be the best decision? Green light. Take that positive action in the most emotionally effective way. So, I encourage you to take a step back and take a look at your answer sheet and see what you've come up with. Just like in college, 100% means chances are you have very strong emotional intelligence skills, and that will give you the ability. It's probably why you are here today, is each of you has a great deal of success in your past, and most likely it's because you're highly emotionally intelligent. If you're 75% or higher, that's really good, but it still is an indicator that you should think about creating a plan of action related to each of these different areas of emotional intelligence, and we'll talk about what those are. 50% or low, that's an F. And you could make the test as wrong as you want to be, or you could just consider that with a little more emotional intelligence training and studying, there's a really good book out there, by the way, by Travis Thornberry called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. It's a book that costs about $10 or $12. It's one of those small little 6x6 books, but it's one of the best books out there so that you could actually learn a little bit more about the 5 components that make up emotional intelligence and create a plan of action. And there's a larger assessment. Fail to Fail. Is that also an emotional intelligence book, by the way? Yeah, cool. I haven't read it, but thank you for that. Who's the author of Fail to Fail? I didn't see it up there. Can you put it up there, sir? Yeah.
It's my score.
Oh, okay, got it. So sorry about that. Yeah, thank you. But thanks for sharing that. But I mean, it really is kind of an eye-opener if you recognize that emotional intelligence really does has about an 85 or higher percentage of your success. And if you think about this, and this is what Dr. Daniel Goleman says, if you think about the most successful person from your high school graduating class, it probably isn't the valedictorian who had the highest IQ. It probably was the most outgoing person, or the class clown, or person that everybody enjoyed being around, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about. So I highly recommend that each of you, as you start to work with clients or continue to work with clients, dig deep into the emotional intelligence literature. There's a certification out there by Travis Thornberry's organization for it, and I think it costs right around $5,000 to get certified through it. And I'm not personally certified through that organization, but it is nationally recognized and trained in most of the Fortune 500 companies, just because we recognize it is the one thing that if you could put money towards in training to create a more positive organizational culture, which dictates success, it helps lower the employee turnover rates, because people feel like they're included, they feel like they're valued, there's a culture that is more inclusive, and it really is. If you think about it, we need other people. It just makes good sense because we need other people to help us see things from other perspectives. Simply put, and this is a shorter version of a training module PowerPoint. Uh, and emotional intelligence is the ability to manage emotions in oneself and others in order to reach desired incomes. We call it in the literature the new yardstick. And so it really goes above and beyond ability and technical skills, and it emphasizes personal qualities such as initiative, empathy, adaptability, and persuasiveness. So those essentially are the key areas. It's a focus on working with people. It's about managing emotions, handling encounters. It's about teamwork and being an effective leader. And it's more than just being nice, as you guys are seeing through this assessment. It really is about being assertive. Lack of social skills, lack of motivation, keep learning, and it's the ability to take criticism. We all need each other to see things from other perspectives, and I know that in another seminar, or at least in our discussions, I've talked about we need the four walls there. So,
Dr. G?
yes, ma'am.
Comment, this is Tanya Parker.
Hi, Ms. Parker.
First, I would like to tell you thank you, because I mean, we have to think about the source of this particular quiz is from the Harvard Business School, first of all,
Yep.
Ivy League.
Yep, for sure.
You know, and thinking on that caliber as far as business goes, it's like, wow, okay, it's something to, like you said, plan towards and work towards if you had a passing or not passing, however you did. But I like that. I appreciate this. This was very value added.
Yay, thank you. Well, I'm glad. I mean, it really is my goal to give you tools that I've been working with clients to help you be the best you can, and hopefully for you to be able to have success in working with clients or helping the teams that you work with be more effective. And so you can't discount it. And of course, you know, in my leadership program here, we also talk about cultural intelligence. And so it's kind of the same thing, is we need to learn how to understand each other and be able to manage ourselves and others. So they do totally go hand in hand. We've got about 7 minutes left, but I encourage you to take a look at this slide. And you'll notice that emotional intelligence really is about personal competence and social competence. So we're the only ones that can manage ourselves. And we always have the ability to influence others and manage our relationships in a positive way, or handle it. So, one, you have to be self-aware. Know your strengths and weaknesses. None of us are perfect, and sometimes we don't know what we don't know. But using our emotions as an indicator to be able to stop and say, whoa, I feel very strongly about this. I wonder what this is. This must relate to something that's happened before. This feels like something I'm passionate about. That's my strength. This feels like something that's always been a sore spot to me. That's my weakness. Self-regulation. You know, you're the only one that gets to choose whether or not you're going to have a relationship with other people, and other people are making those same decisions too. So it's your character and your habits that form your success. Are you trustworthy? Are you responsible? Do you adapt to situations, even if they feel a little uncomfortable to you, knowing that change is the one thing that must consistently happen in order to keep organizations moving forward? Are you the weak link because you refuse to change? So, being aware of you're the only one that gets to regulate your actions, and that affects your reputation. Motivation. This is about taking action. Those of you who have taken the cultural competence course know that drive is absolutely important. So you create your own successes and failures, and being willing to take the right action that is socially and emotionally intelligent is key. It's about commitment, it's about initiative, it's about optimism, and it's about charisma, our influence on other people by what we do. On the social side, how we handle relationships is important. Empathy, it's awareness of other people's feelings and concerns. And what is so interesting is we've learned this at a very young age. When a baby cries and you go and pick a child up, we teach that child that we have the ability to feel each other's discomfort. And that's really important, because understanding discomfort can help us take the right actions. As a matter of fact, Dr. Goleman wrote about in his book a researcher who researched all these mass murderers. And one of the mass murderers, he said, "Why do you do that? Don't you know that you're harming other people?" And the sociopath replies back, "Are you kidding me? If I actually was aware of the fact that I was harming somebody else, I wouldn't be able to do it." So really being aware, and he goes on and talks about a story that really made him aware of how powerful emotional intelligence is, and I'll quickly try to share it with you in the remaining time. But one of his friends in New York was walking the street. She was a middle-aged lady, and she was walking towards the middle of the night, and she was surrounded by a bunch of teenage kids. Teenage kids, one of the kids pulled out a knife and said, "Give me your money." And the lady stopped them and said, "You guys, I'm feeling really uneasy. If you would just take a step back, we can talk about this." And to her surprise, after saying that she felt uneasy, the kids actually took a step back. And she said, "You know what? I'm feeling a little bit better, but I would feel a lot better if you just put that knife away, and then I'll reach into my purse and give you money. Would you please put that knife away? It makes me feel uneasy." And to her surprise, the kid actually put the knife back in his pocket. And so she reached into her purse and handed them a $20 bill. And she says, "Okay, you guys are going to feel better about this once you take the money, and I'm going to feel better once we all go our own ways." And sure enough, the kids took the $20 and ran off on their own way. So making other people aware of how we feel has a huge impact over situations. Finally, social skills. That's your adeptness at inducing desirable responses such as communication, conflict, management, cooperation, and leadership. So really being able to recognize how to take the right action with win-win in mind truly does make a difference. The more complex the job, as I mentioned at the start of this conversation, the more EQ, or EI as we call it, truly matters. Here's his model, Goleman's model, for you to consider. We've talked about each of these, and I highly recommend that you consider creating a better future and helping your organizational members create a better future. This slide kind of shows how things really work. Our success partially comes from our own personal intelligence, and our intelligence is reasonably stable. But over 85% of our success truly comes from how emotionally intelligent we can be, and learning where your baseline is because you take an assessment, and then developing training to help you become as emotionally intelligent as possible will help you create even better successes. This last slide in this last minute says, in essence, being intelligent about emotions means that we can perceive and use emotions to create optimal relationships and produce desired outcomes. We're at 6:30, ladies and gentlemen. If you have questions or comments, of course, you can give me a call or send me an email or post your questions in our discussions, and I'll be certainly happy to answer them there. I truly value each of your time and your contributions to your class. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you each have a good night, and I'll see you guys online. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.